Awesome. Left a ton of articles down in the description for you guys. All kinds of stuff. But I thought I would talk a little bit about the grain issue in Ukraine. I believe it's the first article that I left down there in the description, the first link. And pretty interesting story to think about. A lot of times when we look at the supply chain, we look at the shortages that we have experienced over the last couple of years. A lot of times, these shortages, the way that they end up coming about is not necessarily just the severing of the supply chain or the lack of distribution. A lot of it has to do with the actual manufacturing of those products out there, and just simply just not putting it out there for sale. Lumber was an easy one for me to follow this on. I was doing lumber videos in 2019 talking about mill curtailments and shutdowns and inventory depletion. And I mean, we were reporting on stories up in the British Columbia area, up in 100 Mile. Some of the stories that were coming out of there are these families who were pretty much devastated by the shutdowns of these mills. And this was all due to a glut of lumber that was out there. And now it didn't really seem like it at the time, because there was no news articles, there wasn't a whole lot of people talking about it. But if you go back and you look at some of my videos and watch, what we were talking about at the time, it was due to a lot of people will argue with it, but it really came from the Canadian government up there going into salvage mode due to the bug infestation that was taking place up in that British Columbia area. Now, those mills went into a lot of production. They ramped up production, and the prices in like 2018 were running up to like $650 per thousand on the lumber futures. That's huge. I mean, that was a huge number back then. Of course, today it doesn't seem that big because, it ran up to 1700, but back then 650 was huge. And these mills were pumping out a lot of lumber during that time. Well, they filled the supply up extremely heavy, and then everything started shutting down. 2020 kicked in, right? So COVID lockdowns, even more mill curtailments, even more shutdowns, and then stimulus packages, and it all goes out. But it was the glut that was taking place from 2018 that had the mills shutting down in 2019. 2020 exacerbated the problem. So something that we're starting to see in other, parts of the industries or, the economy and all kinds of stuff out there, the grain shipments coming out of Ukraine really kind of caught my eye. And what was interesting about this is the Ukraine commodities, like the grain, is one of the biggest areas of distribution coming out of Ukraine as far as grain goes. And when you think about the way grain travels, like here we ship out out of I'm here in Astoria, so alongside of Astoria we have the Columbia River, and these freighters, they haul all kinds of grain out of our area and usually haul it over to Asia. Now, when you think about Ukraine doing the same thing on these freighters, they've had issues with that, with Russia blocking them and stuff like that. So they're trying to find other distribution routes, right? And so basically going over land. And now when you take this grain and you start distributing it through the distribution network that would normally haul grain through other areas, right? So all the surrounding countries of Ukraine now have their grain distribution network disrupted because the Ukraine is shipping grain through it. So it's not like Ukrainians are like, hey, we're selling grain to these particular countries. They're not. Like, the grain has a destination to it, but because it's going through this distribution network, they are blocking the availability for the other farmers of those other countries to get their grain into the distribution network because Ukraine grain is blocking the path. Now, eventually this will all clear out and everybody will get their grain distributed to where they want to. But you have to think about what the farmer who is experiencing the pain right now, what is their mentality about whether or not they are going to be planting into the future. Now, they have a ton of grain that they are sitting on, trying to get it into the distribution network, but can't because Ukraine grain is blocking their path. Now it's time to sow for the next seasons. How much are you actually going to do? Like, are you going to go and just sow a ton, like the same amount that you did just last season, considering that you're having difficulties getting your wheat out already, so you're going to go and grow a bunch more of it? No, most farmers are going to end up cutting back on their production to the very bare minimum that they can survive on and just plant that amount because of the difficulties that they are experiencing today. And it's not exactly like the bullwhip effect, but it's very similar to like the bullwhip effect. So you can imagine that the next time that the harvest season comes around, there's going to be a whole lot less grain coming from those particular areas because of the disruption that they are experiencing today. Wow, it's pretty crazy to think about. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, to see what you guys are talking about, see if you guys notice anything else going on within the distribution network that shows gluts or maybe shortages coming. Rusty Dollar, thank you so much for the $4.99, man. Really appreciate that. And Shattered Dreams, oh, great name. $5, thank you very much. I apologize if you have already discussed this, but what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? I'm a fan of Bitcoin. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I try to buy as often as I can. $50 purchase, with Bitcoin. I never do anything much more than $50, maybe $100. But generally it's $50 purchase. I try to do it as often as I can. I did a experiment for 1 year. I bought $50 of Bitcoin every single week. It was fun to do that. The portfolio that I put that into did quite well when Bitcoin was running up. When it ran down to its lows, it dramatically went under what I had paid for it. Right now, it's about ready to turn positive again. So dollar cost average into Bitcoin is the way I go about it. I have no intentions for the future of it being some like huge thing that I'm going to become like, some wealthy millionaire off of or something like that. I don't look at Bitcoin like that at all. I really, to be honest, I don't really even have a good reason for getting into Bitcoin other than I like to have something that's outside of that third party, something similar to gold, and having a digital currency that you can do a transaction with anybody in the entire world, doesn't matter where they're at, so long as they have internet access. And the moment that you start that transaction, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. I like that. I like that kind of thing. So I'm a fan of Bitcoin. Whether it ends up being like some currency that we use, or is like a digital gold, and it gets backed by other assets, or if it's backing other assets or something like that. I don't know if any of all that's going to happen, but I am a fan of Bitcoin as far as the technology goes, what it provides as far as transactions go, what it could do in the future. I'm a fan of that. I also buy into other altcoins. I was pretty much a fan of Litecoin and Bitcoin, and then a handful of the other altcoins, maybe, $50, $100 purchase of some of the other ones that are out there. But all of it's speculation. None of it is like, this is going to be locked in. This is my retirement kind of thought. I don't do it like that. I'm very aware of the chance that everything that I put into that could disappear, could just go away. But I don't feel that's the case. I think it's going to be around for forever. All right. Let's see here. First time here live. Well, right on. You got here. You're the first comment too. You're ready for the big one. PNW is doomed. Why? Why is the Pacific Northwest doomed? Yeah, hit that like for Simon. Thank you very much, All-Nighter. Great to see you here. Lumber is cheap now. Yes, lumber is so cheap right now. If you have any projects that you need, now is the time to get it. Lumber is, right now we got lumber at right around 400 per thousand. In fact, it dipped below 400 per thousand there for a little bit. Look at some of the stuff, some of the talk coming out of some of these people talking about the real estate market, talking about the housing market. I'm not, I left a link down in the description for the commercial real estate and how there's going to be, major issues with that. That very well could bleed into the housing market somehow. I'm not trying to predict that or not trying to say that or deny it or anything like that. I'm just saying, once you start having financial issues of that kind of major, when you start having commercial real estate going down and you have the lending standards start to increase because the banks start getting very picky on who it is that they're going to give money to, I would imagine something like that would definitely land inside of the real estate market for the residential housing as well, for the individual. So is that a problem? Yeah. Is it something to keep an eye on? Absolutely. Is it going to drag the whole housing market down? We have to wait to see about that part. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much there for, let's see. Good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Okay, here we go. All these looting going on. Yeah, UK talking. All right, mash the like button. Yes, please do so. Good afternoon. Ukraine is one of the largest wheat exporters in the world. Yeah, yes, they are. And that's really where, like, this is like creating such a problem because they have so much wheat there and trying to get it distributed out to the rest of the world. They're blocking the other farmers from being able to get their wheat into the distribution network. Yeah. All right. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I already read that one. What's in it? Okay, Kenny Gomez, $10. Thank you so much. Biggest fan here. You see lumber stabilizing as homes go down, or is lumber bringing down homes, or simply supply demand? What you think financially, pure speculation on your end advice? Well, I mean, okay. So, lumber versus the housing market. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess you could like, kind of put these two together in this fashion. When the housing prices come down, the builders do not get excited when those prices are coming down because they don't know if they are going to be able to build a house and then sell it for the projected idea, for what their projections are. You get there, by the time you complete the home and you have to sell it for less than what you thought you did, you end up having to cut into your margins, cut into your profits. This may not be exactly the position in which a lot of home builders want to be in. Now, if you think that they're at the bottom, if the home builders feel that they are at the bottom of housing prices, well, then that would encourage them to go back in and start building homes again because, surprisingly, yes, there is still a shortage of homes out there. And if the price of lumber is low at the time, right, that all this has taken place, then that is going to probably spark a pretty good demand, right? A lot of people are going to jump in there and try and get that cheap lumber, try and buy up, as much futures as they can in order to handle the future projects that are coming. That would start driving the prices up as there's not a lot of lumber out there to be purchased, not in my opinion, considering how much mill curtailment has taken place. So, with all that being said, is lumber, and the price of real estate, I mean, are these two going to go down together or bring one down from the other? I don't think it's necessarily going to work like that. I mean, I think with housing coming down and or at least the pricing of it and putting that, pressure on the builders, I think the longer that goes on, the more pressure it puts on the builders because they want to build. Like if they're not building, they're not earning money, right? So that's their job. That's what they have to do. And you can back off for a little bit, but eventually you're going to be like, man, I got to eat, right? I mean, we got to start, putting projects together. So even though the interest rates are elevated, if that takes that lag time, from the time that the prices were coming down to the time that the builders are like finally saying, okay, that's it, we got to get back in it again. Where that is, I don't know, but it feels to me like it's starting to come. Like, I'm seeing, like, even at the store that I work at, we're finding more prints are coming in, more people are asking for pricing, more people are looking at, future projects here, getting ready for summer. Lumber prices are down, so that's kind of got a lot of people interested. What is it going to do? I don't know, but you get any kind of pop to home builder sentiment, increase that demand, and man, I just see lumber prices shooting back up again. I mean, could it hit 1,000 per thousand again? Yeah, sure, but I would not be surprised if it went to 800. I mean, 1,000 per thousand seems a little bit up there, but 800, that could be, could be where it goes. All right, thank you very much, Kenny, for the $10, man. That was very cool of you. All right, let's go over here. Welcome to Nano Housing Technologies. The future is limited. All right. This is not the bottom. Definitely not the bottom. Yeah. Every time lumber has gone down, I have seen construction workers lose jobs, but there is high demand for housing as well. See, that's what's funny. Construction workers losing their jobs, and yeah, here in my area, you can't find a carpenter to save your life. Like, everybody is so busy, so far out. It's insane, right? But you go to places where there was a lot of building taking place, like incredibly hot, construction market taking place, and then all of a sudden there's a back off on that. Yeah, right. Where all these carpenters going to go? I mean, here in my area, I'm come from a very, very old. I mean, Astoria is like, like 1800s here. So it's like a 200-year-old place, and some of these houses, I mean, you got 100-year-old houses, even older than that, and there's pretty much a constant state of repair, like all the time. So it's different from other areas. Let's see. I think nuclear fallout is going to happen. All this prepping is a waste of money. A nuclear fallout? You think there's going to be nuclear war? If that's the case, then there is no point in even like trying. I don't worry about nuclear war attack. Like, I don't think about that kind of thing. I didn't even like worry when COVID was hitting. Everybody's all panicking and flipping out about it, and I was like, whatever. Living your life in fear is almost a guarantee that you will have negative things come to you. You will have negative reactions, negative interactions, negative everything, right? Because when you're in a constant state of fear, you're in a fight or flight mode. And it takes your energy and it pushes it out to the extremities, and it puts you into this defensive mode. So living in fear is never going to be any way that you can possibly succeed. So if you're in fear of a like something you really can't control, like there's nothing you can do about a nuclear fallout, like absolutely. I mean, I guess there's some things you can do to prepare for it, but as far as sitting around, oh man, what am I going to do about the nuclear? Oh man, there's nothing that can be gained from that at all. We have, thank you for the info. Okay, thank you very much, Kenny. We have 300 or 400-year-old adobe here. They melt. All right, keep in mind, wealthy elite choose to live inside very large estate mansions with ample space between them and the next estate mansion, as well as privacy. Compare that to the dense urban settings. Yeah, I mean, definitely a different way of life. I mean, I live not way out in the country, but I live out in the country. We got neighbors and stuff, but there's not a lot of people around. Like, my neighborhood is very quiet and stuff. I mean, I guess the only difference between me and like the rich elitist out there is they probably have like secured gates and all kinds of fancy things and features going on around there, but I don't know what the difference would be for them as opposed to me. I mean, if it's some kind of security thing, living out in the country with the people that I live around, I feel very secure. Anyone watch Elon Part 2 with Tucker? I didn't. I don't believe in nukes, so I'm good. There's that. If you haven't watched the Part 2 of Elon and Tucker last night, you should definitely watch it. The part about the impending financial crisis is spot on. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I've heard so much financial crisis and stuff like that throughout the years that I'm really kind of sticking to what it is that I believe, the things that I'm looking at, the things that I'm going to, find for my indicators. A lot of people we were just like, even still, like right now, Ray Dalio, I think I left an article down there talking about how, all these countries would like to get out of the dollar, and I'm sure they would like to. I just don't think they're going to do it, right? I mean, they probably want to. It'd be like within them, like, hey, we would really like to do this. But, if they're actually going to get out of the dollar, it would be very surprising to me. For the dollar to be like losing its world reserve currency status, even in the next, couple of years, I would find that very surprising. Just because there's nothing else that even remotely comes close to taking its place. Like, what is it that's going to replace the dollar? Think about it. Like, I mean, give me anything. Like, a lot of people are like, well, China and Russia are doing these deals, and China and, Saudi and Russia and so whatever. Like, all these people, they do these deals. Yeah, that's all good. And it's part of the global trade and all that other stuff, but it is such a minute amount that it doesn't even come close to what the dollar is doing. And then if you want to say, okay, well, the yuan's going to take over as the world reserve currency, you know what it would have to do? Like like the reason why the dollar even is the world reserve currency status is because the United States is willing to supply the world with the safe and liquid asset of U.S. treasuries, and they're willing to go in deep into debt to do it, which is not something that a lot of nations would be willing to do. And then you got to provide the world with the dollars. And so how do you get the dollars out to the rest of the world? The easiest way to do it is to buy all their shit. And so that's what we do. We borrow money from everybody, and then we buy all their stuff, and that's how we distribute the dollars out to the rest of the world. China wants to do that, then they have to, well, they can continue manufacturing and bringing in the new money, right? As they manufacture and sell stuff to the rest of the world, right? Manufacture like and put it out there, and they start bringing in the new money, right? Eventually, they're going to get to a point in which that they have to continue on with the new money, right? And now, if manufacturing gets expensive in China, it's going to start leaving. And it's going to start moving over to Vietnam or India or wherever, and we're starting to find that now being the case. So if they get to a point where the new money from manufacturing isn't coming in, then China's going to have to figure out a way to get the new money, and the only way to really do it is to borrow it by issuing out debt. And now, why would anybody want to buy your debt, right? If you're China, you buy the United States debt because they're the safe haven. China needs to issue out debt. Well, unless you force it upon the people, how do you do that? Right? It starts coming down to war, right? Start taking over, taking over people, other nations' commodities and resources and ports and facilities and stuff. It's going to get scary. It's going to get ugly. But as far as like, oh, hey, dollars, kick you out. Sorry, guy. You can't be the world reserve currency anymore. Go sit over there in the corner. You think that the United States is going to do it like that? You think they're going to be like, oh, darn. Well, okay, well, maybe you guys will do a better job. We're done. No, they're going to fight like hell. We're going to destroy we're going to destroy everything, right? So it's just like, another currency taking over as after the Great War of it, right? So that's why I don't feel it's going to go down like that. It's going to end up going into like a digital currency. United States is going to have a central bank digital currency. Everybody's going to be backing their currency with the central bank digital currency of the United States. There'll be SDR created out of a basket of world currencies. There'll be a one world central bank digital currency. Everything will get tokenized, and they'll take interest rates into negative territory, and they'll continue to pour the new money into the United States. I mean, that's how I see it going down. Now, a lot of people don't, right? They think that the dollar is eventually done, and it's, everybody here in the United States is going to starve and live in poverty, which would happen if the new money turns off. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to continue to pour the new money in somehow, some way, whether it's a digital currency and UBI and modern monetary theory injections or something like that. I don't know. But, I just know that the United States has figured out a way to control the entire world, and I don't think that anybody who has that, like, I don't know what to try to even put it there, like, because it's not control, but I think that if anybody was to think, okay, if you can force nations around the world, if you can manipulate the situation, if you can do stuff like, tariffs and, I don't know, just all the boycotting or, I mean, it just gets to a point, like, you think about, like, all the stuff that they could do, like the sanctions and the fighting of, like, over shipping channels or something. Taking all that and thinking, okay, well, we're just going to let that go. Right? All that stuff. And we're just going to back away and just slowly just allow it to just happen. I just don't see it. Like, I don't see that happening that way. And when you find, like, a lot of people saying, well, the dollar is just going to just fail. Like, how? How does the dollar just fail? Like, it's a loss of confidence. So when it's a loss of confidence, that means that people are going to be getting out of the dollar. And if you're going to get out of the dollar, what does that mean? It means that you have to close out your contracts. You have to, pay off all those debts that you had taken out in dollars. It means no more issuing out debts in dollars. As that little scenario takes place, as everybody's getting out of the dollar, it's going to cause the dollar to strengthen, because there's going to be less dollars in circulation in order to pay off the debt. So as people are trying to get out of the dollar, it's going to literally cause the dollar to strengthen as that happens, which is going to cause people to think quite opposite of that, saying, wow, the dollar's strengthening, we should be in the dollar, you know? I mean, think about it. Just look at just recently, you know, as soon as the Federal Reserve said that they were going to be, you know, unwinding their balance sheet, I mean, the dollar shot up to almost, what, it was 110 on the index? I mean, think about as this continues. People think that the Federal Reserve is going to be pivot. You know, look at some of the articles I leave down in the description. I mean, these, you know, these high-speed financial analysis economists out there are thinking, you know, the Fed is going to be pivoting, or that they should be pivoting before they go into recession. Like, anybody who's taken on the strategy that the Fed is going to pivot soon is like delusional. There's no way the Fed is even remotely coming close to even considering a pivot yet. They may stop the raising of interest rates, but they are going to keep them significantly elevated for a long time. And I mean, I couldn't tell you how long that is, but it's going to be a lot longer than what anybody else is thinking. And the markets are going to, they're going to get whooped because of it, you know, because everybody thinks that the Fed is going to pivot out of a recession or something. They'll keep the interest rates elevated right into this thing, I'm sure of it. Man, I'm kind of losing my speech here. I'm kind of mumbling and stuff. All right. China is already manufacturing in Mexico, is down the street from us, car parts, you know. Unless political thugs and other businesses and trade interests put in place a private blockchain, the dollar cash will remain. How else will they profit off the top of it otherwise? The dollar cash will. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of, like, as far as cash and the cashless society and the introduction of central bank digital currencies. I mean, I got like my theory on what's going to happen from the IMF. I mean, they're the ones who were saying that, you know, in order to take interest rates into negative territory, you got to get cash out of the system, because if you take interest rates to negative, people will just pull the cash out and stuff it in the mattress. So they know that if you're going to have negative interest rates, you have to have a digital currency in order to provide people with the currency to spend, you know, to use in their daily commerce. But then you got to get the cash out of the system. And that's the way they're going to do it. Like, I think that's, to me, central bank digital currencies is not about tracking and tracing and doing all that other stuff. Like, they can figure out ways to do all that. It's all about taking interest rates into negative territory and keeping you locked into the system. Because if you had cash, you'd be able to pull it out. But if you have no cash, you have no choice. You have to either invest it or spend it or deal with a negative interest rate. All right, that looks like a Chevy truck. Say it ain't so, Simon. It is a Chevy truck. It's an S10. I bought it, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so. And it's got like 150,000 miles on it. It's kind of beat up, and it runs great, so whatever. I meant like they skim our taxes and they get away with it. Die to cash and die with it. Let's see, and get away with it. Die to cash. If we were fully digital, they can't scheme. I'm not, so I don't know how everybody else looks at taxes, but, you know, you could tax 100% of our income and 100% of corporate profits, and you still wouldn't take care of the unfunded liabilities. So to me, taxes aren't really what, you know, like, you know, we tax so we can pay for these other things. No, taxes are to make the interest payment, but really taxes are more about taking your time, because that's the one thing that you can't get back, right, is your time. And if you had to work, trade your time for dollars, and then at the end of that, they're taking your dollars from you, what they're doing is they're taking your time. And that's really what taxes are all about, is it's a time collection. And at least in my opinion, that's the way I feel, because they can just, the taxes don't mean anything anymore. It's just like, you know, if you could print up as much money as you want and you could spend as much money as you want, the whole point of the taxes is just more of an obligation for the interest payment, to just assure that there is something out there. Like, basically the taxes are to convince everybody, or to keep everybody feeling that the United States will go with guns and take stuff from their citizens in order to make sure that those U.S. treasuries are paid. I think that's probably where really we should talk about it, like, because that's really what it is. Follow you for a while now. Cheers from El Salvador. Well, thank you very much, man. S10. Yeah, private enterprise causes shortages. Getting $5. I see gold at 3,000 in 2 months. I see it 1 ounce is already at 2,200. Well, I looked at it earlier today. I thought it was at 2020 or so, or just over 2,000. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see gold go up to 3,000, but why? Like, what is it that's giving? Like, I stopped pulling numbers out of the air. The only reason why I call out lumber is because of what I've seen happening at the mills. So, like, anything under 400 per thousand, mills start curtailing. Like, they don't like producing under 400, and anything over, like, say 600, they're going to produce as much as possible. So eventually, it just finds its supply. That's why I keep saying like 400 to 800 on the lumber. It's just the feeling that I get from it. But we've never seen $3,000 an ounce gold. And I mean, I tried to wonder, like, what is it that sparks that, like, we're going to see 3,000 in 2 months. Like, why? Like, what's why 3,000 and why 2 months, All right. And thank you very much, Kenny. I very much appreciate that. Are you preparing for what is to come in any well, yeah. I mean, what's coming? Like, everybody's going to have to face something different when this thing comes, like whatever it is. Okay, let's relate it like this. Okay, out here on the river, out on the Columbia River, there's some freighters, there's, some, every once in a while you see like a yacht go up there. You'll see some fishing vessels, like, some of the big commercial fishing. You'll see even some people running around in a little duck skiff, right? All these, watercrafts are out there running around on the Columbia River. Now, all of them are dealing with the exact same condition, right? They're all dealing with the same weather, the same river, the same everything, right? All the same traffic, everybody's dealing with the exact same thing. But the captain of that big freighter and the guy who's operating that duck boat, they are not even playing the same game. Like, they're both in boats, they're both out on the river, they're both dealing with the same weather conditions, but they're not even thinking or doing the same thing. They are completely different, right? I mean, on almost every level. Yeah, and that's really where I think a lot of people should be looking at the economy as well. Like, I could give you advice, but it's advice that I'm doing for myself. Like, how is that going to possibly help you out unless you're living like a life that is very similar to what I'm doing, right? That's really what this is all about, is trying to figure this thing out for yourself. So when you say, like, prepare, what are you preparing for? Like, are you preparing for, like, food shortage? Are you preparing to be able to pay a light bill? Are you preparing for home invasion? I mean, what is it that you're preparing for? I mean, to be honest with you, you should prepare for all that stuff. Like, if you can think of a scenario, you should prepare for it. Like, that's really what it comes down to. So for me, like, I mean, preparing for me is like food. Okay, so everybody talks about, like, stocking up on food. Yeah, that's a good idea, right? Have a good food supply. But really, what if you have to bail out, right? What if something happens and you can't take all this food with you? Now you don't have any way of, now you're back into, like, not being prepared at all. So to me, like, it's not just having a food supply, but it's also a way of preserving food. That's why I've been, like, so adamant about telling people, learn to can, just going to the store and finding, when, like, right now, a lot of pork products are on sale. You could can up a bunch of pork and, have it for future meals. That kind of prepping for foods is the way I do it. Is like, learn to preserve food, learn how to grow food, learn how to acquire food that doesn't come from a store. That's like preparing that way. You got to prepare in a defensive manner. Like, how do you defend your home? How do you defend your family? Do you have firearms? Do you know the laws, so that you can properly carry these firearms around without getting in trouble, or something. Learning how to use them, right? To make sure that, during the moment of, like, intensity, that it isn't like something you're trying to figure out. It's like it just comes to you. You just know how to do it. Like, that's the type of things that preparing for. If it's financial, really, me, I like the idea of being out of the third party, being away from the banks, being away from stocks, being away from all that stuff. Like, that to me is preparing, because if you do have a total collapse of something, the only thing you really have is the stuff that you have in your hand. I mean, if you're putting your faith in that an envelope is going to show up and save you, right? Literally, an envelope in the mail, or an app, or some business out there has your money, you may find one day that you can access it and it's gone, and gone forever. So that to me is just the way to do it, right? Home defense, food, and financial security somehow. Right? That's the stuff. Everything else is just kind of building off of those things. All right. Safety meeting time. I hear you, man. All right. Benson the Bear, thank you very much for the $5. Here's some of my debt. Thanks for teaching and inspiring. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys coming out here. We got 238 of you with 71 likes. Go ahead and hit that like button. We'll get this video spread around a little bit more. We'll get more people up in the chat. I plan on being out here for probably at least another 25 minutes or so. Is it a time collection or an effort collection? Like most valuable things, is focused human effort. You can't eat gold. Man, that's true. Inflation-adjusted gold has not reached its 1970s peak. Yeah. I mean, I'm more into silver. Like, I mean, I look at gold, yeah, that's cool, but silver is like incredibly undervalued when it comes to comparing it to gold. And just comparing it to like of its all-time high of $50 an ounce, it's like at 25. To me, like, there's really no other better play than silver. Like, if you were to, like, you have no idea where to put your money at all whatsoever, like, silver, right? Like, what, I mean, if you're not going to keep it in cash, then keep it in silver. It's easy. And a lot of people ask me that one too, like, where do I get silver from? There is a great amount of online dealers that you can really get some decent deals with, especially if it's like your first time purchasing with them, or you're buying a certain amount. A lot of times you can find some good deals. Of course, nowadays they're a lot harder to find than they once were. But absolutely, by far, my favorite place to get silver is your local coin dealer. Coin dealer, sometimes pawn shops, but usually coin dealers are also silver dealers. So you can go down and pick up like generic silver, or some government issues like the American Silver Eagles or Canadian Maple Leafs or something. So what I do, like if I, giving out advice on buying silver, is to go down to your local coin shop, learn the clerk's name, learn the shop owner's name or something, and, buy a piece off of them. Don't haggle them or anything. Just buy a regular piece and, generic round or whatever. And learn silver, learn what generic rounds are, learn what government rounds are, learn what spot price is, learn what, the premiums are, and go down and make a purchase once a week or once a month, whatever you can afford. You do this pretty regularly, and the shop owner will get to know who you are. And, I'd imagine that at some point, if you build up a good rapport with them, that they'll offer you some better deals at times, Like, I know the coin dealer here locally, Clatsop Coin, there was times where he would get like an odd piece in, or maybe kind of like a, something that weighed, 2 ounces as opposed to 1 ounce or something. And he would make me a better deal on it because there were just kind of unique pieces that weren't as popular. So, he would give me a better deal on those pieces, and I would buy them up. And there's all kinds of ways of getting silver. In fact, I got to get a guy on here. He wrote a book, R.E. Gold, or Finding Gold. He's R.E. Gold. Anyway, I'm gonna get him on to the show someday, and he'll talk to us about how to acquire silver and gold. All right, I agree with you all night. Or what did all nighters say? Our labor is the collateral the Treasury used to get perpetual loan from the Fed. The IRS is the collection agency, nothing more. Yeah, that's for sure. Only prepper for what you hope to receive. Only prepare for what you hope to receive. Okay. Never worry, for it won't add a second to your life or a dollar to your account. Yep. Only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Apply probabilities to the scenario and then prepare accordingly. You know? Could you quit your job and live off of YouTube money? Yeah, no. Yeah, I probably could. The only problem with like doing that is that it is so inconsistent. Like you don't know from one month to the next what it's going to be. You don't even know from one video to the next. Like, some videos will do quite well with the ad revenue and other videos, even though they got a ton of views, didn't do as well. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. With that being said, if I was to build up something that would be a like say like a monthly membership that gave me a consistent amount of money every single month, then I would feel better about it. Like, just knowing that the YouTube ad revenue is so inconsistent, it doesn't sit well as far as, the position of life that I'm in right now. I mean, if there was if I had a ton of money and investments and all kinds of stuff, I didn't have to worry about it. Yeah, no problem. But my life isn't that way. I mean, a lot of people look at me on YouTube. They say, "Man, you got 122,000 subscribers. You got like all this clout on YouTube and stuff. You must be really killing it." Well, yeah, you do pretty well sometimes on ad revenue, and yeah, I got a full-time job, and my wife has a job, so yeah, we do have some income coming in, but what people don't really understand is that a few years ago I was completely broke. Like I had nothing, like nothing at all, like broken down cars, nothing. I mean, so I got a lot of time to make up for. I mean, even my house. We purchased this house. I don't really have like anything in it. Like I need new furniture. I need stuff. Like, you know, you move into a house, you need things. Like all this stuff like you normally accumulate throughout your life, and you have these decent quality things that you've had. I don't, right? I mean, I was, like I said, I was a complete broke ass. And then on top of that, putting a bunch of money down on a house, paying back off a bunch of debts, doing all kinds of stuff, it doesn't leave you like with a whole like ton of money. um I'm really just getting started here, just like, as if I was just getting started this year on something. It's not really like, something that I feel comfortable enough to say I can just give up on everything else that I'm doing out there and just follow this one thing. Part of being on YouTube and being successful at it, if that's what you call it, being successful, I still think I'm trying to get to that successful position on it. But part of being successful on YouTube is not going for the money, right? Like if I was doing these videos with the intent of trying to make money, I never would have made it. It never would have succeeded. Like I don't put out videos. I don't come out here. I don't do all this stuff for the money. Like, I mean, I do it for the money because I do it now for the money, right? I mean, it's there. But when I started this, I didn't do it for money. I mean, I do these videos just about the same way I've always done it. I don't think I've changed anything about it. And that was my whole goal, was to start a YouTube channel, to have a conversation, to talk about economics so that I could learn. That was my goal. And as far as like money goals, my goal was to earn $100 because that was the minimum threshold that you needed in order for Google to pay you. So that was my goal, was $100. And when I achieved that $100 and I got the $100 deposited into my bank account, I was like, whoa, that's way cool. I'm gonna do that again, right? And that was my attitude towards it. And so if I was to like quit my job to try and do YouTube full time, then I would be trying to make money on YouTube, and I just don't feel that it would be the same. Even I noticed some, like when the channel kind of took a dip there in views for a while. There wasn't as many people coming to the channel, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, why are there's so few people watching these videos? And I got to watching my videos and looking back on them, and I'm like, well, it's because you changed the way you were doing them. You used to be like informative and helpful. Now you're opinionated and, in, I don't know, like, what was I? It was more of an opinion, and I don't know, like not very helpful, and so like people didn't really like enjoy those videos. When you're doing something that's helpful, when you're doing something that's informative, when you're doing something that people are entertained by, all that's the stuff that took the channel, and carried it on. So I don't think I can quit my job. Besides, like, I don't think I would have the same insights too. Like, looking at the lumber industry from the position that I am at the job that I do, there's no way that you could get that from reading articles on Google or something like that. Like, the reason why I'm able to call the lumber industry as well as I do, probably better than most people can, is because I do a retail job selling. Like, I literally stand at a counter and ring 2x4s up. Like, I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I do a lot of special orders and stuff like that, but being in that position and then seeing the contractor desk, being in communication with the vendors, the mills, builders out there, all kinds, like every corner of the industry. There's nobody out there that I don't know. Loggers, truck drivers, all of it. I know all of it. And so that's really where it is that I'm able to call the lumber out as easy as I can. If I didn't have the job at the hardware store, I couldn't do any of that. Like, all that it wouldn't have happened. All right, Kenny. They want to get gold and silver so high no one can afford it. You have premiums. I think quite the opposite. I think they like, if it's like the powers that be, the government or whatever, I think they actually keep silver suppressed. I think the banking issue does as well. Like, they do not want people interested in silver at all. It is a safe haven outside of the third party. That's the last place they want anybody to go with it. And so if you can keep people disinterested in it, right, then I think that's probably more of what their real intent is on something like that. If there really is an intent on it. So as far as the high premiums, I think, again, that's probably more to do with the paper manipulation, because you have like pretty much two prices now that are starting to exist. You got like the paper price, the spot price, the one that you can go out there and buy an ETF with, and then there's the physical price, the price that you end up paying if you go down to the store. And these are not the same anymore. Like, I mean, when I first started buying silver, 50 cents, a dollar on a silver eagle, it might be like $1.50 or $2 over spot price. I mean, now it's just like finding $5 premiums are like, that's the good deal. And that was like, I mean, before, like, a $5 premium was like, are you kidding me, man? No way are we going to touch that. But nowadays, that's just the common. So like, the physical price is breaking free from the paper price. And I think at one point, you will find in the future somebody's going to go manufacture something. They're going to be wanting to build a cell phone or a computer or something, and they're not going to be able to get the silver to do it. And like, they're going to go to the whoever supplier, and they're going to be like, hey, we don't have any, and we're all out. At that point, those people will pay any price for silver, because the small amount that they actually use in a cell phone or a computer, it really doesn't matter how much that silver is. It's going to be more of the critical point of having it as opposed to how much it costs. At that point, you could see silver really, really skyrocket. It's when the industrial demand can't get it anymore that the investment demand will just start pouring into it and just zap it. I mean, at least that's the way I kind of see it. Be prepared, not scared. That's right. All right. Long day, Simon, or no coffee? No, I guess you noticed I haven't had any coffee this afternoon, so maybe that's my problem. And yes, it was a long day. What was it? What did I end up doing? Oh, it was because Sunday night I did bingo, and I ended up getting up early yesterday morning, and then I ended up hanging out at the Fort George Brewery with friends until 9 or 10 or something like that. So yeah, I was kind of tired. The Fort George Brewery. If you're ever in Astoria, go check out the Fort George Brewery. They got some really good pizzas. They do like this wood fire pizza stuff. gourmet stuff. It's really good. All right. Who's they? And no, they don't want physical like gold and silver high. People would flee to it too fast, too quick. Gold rush is bad for government. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I just think like they don't want anybody noticing. Like, I can go and talk to 50 people and ask them how much silver do they own or have purchased in the last, year. And I would imagine almost all of them. I could think of a couple of people who would say that they purchased, but almost all of them would say they're not interested in silver and don't own any. All right. I love First National Bullion in San Diego. They're the homies. Right on. Yeah, it's cool to have a place that you go to, like your favorite, your favorite group or your favorite dealer or whatever. It's cool because, like I said, you get better deals or at least build up a rapport and you get the chance of better deals doing it that way. All right. Food is a good investment. And I think food preserving things is a good investment. Food itself, I don't know. Like, I guess it depends on what kind of food you buy. I buy gold and silver to preserve my cash. I buy it so my cash goes up with gold in value. If price change, my cash went up. All right. Be careful. Lots of YouTubers are informants or agents of change. Like, they come out to spread the information, there's behind the scenes, like, hey guys, we really need to get out like this particular narrative, right? And so all the YouTubers who are on board with this, you all start talking the same way so that you all take a hold of this narrative and spread it out there for all your viewers to see. And then they'll, like, is that the kind of thing? I can see that. It's funny because a lot of people thought that of George Gammon, and they thought that he was that type of dude. And, I mean, I could kind of see where people would come up with that, but if you ever met George personally, you would probably think differently, All right. I like looking for silver at the local thrift shop. People have no clue what they donate these days. Yeah, that's for sure. Fear, false expectations appearing real. That's right. Let's hope AI takes longer than it should or fail, or else we won't have any jobs or economy at that. I don't know. I disagree with that. I understand that artificial intelligence is going to be incredibly disruptive, and there's a lot of fearful things that you can really think of, especially if you really understand the technology of it. But me personally, I'm not in fear of technology. Like, I don't fear it. In fact, I embrace technology as best I can, considering that I'm not a Luddite, but there was a time when I wouldn't carry a cell phone, I wouldn't use credit cards, I wouldn't do any of this stuff because I was trying to protest, telling people that they're tracking and tracing you and doing all that stuff with it, and they all told me I was crazy. And so out of protest, I wouldn't use any of those things, right? And then Edward Snowden came out, and everybody knew it. They were like, "Oh, hey, they're tracking and tracing you and all this other stuff. You're using your cell phones to do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, dang! Now I wish I had a phone, because like I had only been doing it at a protest, and my protest was over. So, like, technology to me is awesome. I mean." With my cell phone, I'm able to make money off of it, right? That's pretty cool. I look back in the day, people argued a lot about, like, I've used this analogy a lot too, with the telephone operators or switchboard operators. There was, warehouses of women and people pulling wires and plugs and switching these damn phone lines around. And then they went then they didn't need it anymore. Everything went digital and whatever. And they didn't need like these switchboard operators, and so like all these people lost their job, and they said that there was going to be like this massive depression of women without jobs because of these switchboard operators being shut down. I mean, sure, I imagine that happened for quite a few of them, but you have to think what happened after that, right? It was just like this expansion of like, women moving into college degrees and the workforce and, becoming doctors and lawyers and politicians and all the other stuff. So it was like, when people said that this was a bad thing that was happening to women, it wasn't. It was a great thing that happened to them. I mean, look what they did. So technology to me advances. It takes away the mundane things that we have to do every day for work and allows us to then go and pursue the things that we truly find enjoyable in our life. Like that's the way we should look at it. Now, can AI take over and destroy everybody with like, self-made robots or something that go off and destroy the human race? Okay, yeah. I mean, okay, but I don't live in that kind of fear. Like, I'm not worried about that. What I'm looking forward to is the day that I say, man, it'd be nice to catch a car to the show, here at, you know, 5 o'clock or whatever, and then boom, the car shows up and carries you there, and you don't have to do anything. It's all like just automatic. I like that. Like, I think that would be cool. I mean, considering somebody who has old vehicles to drive around, I'm looking forward to the day that I have a self-driving car. So, Simon, what's your criteria to determine whether you take on a sponsor? That's really difficult. I've only done a couple of sponsors now. I've done three sponsorships. And ultimately, what it has to come down to is if it would be something that I would do for myself. Like I pretty much I promoted 3 stocks, right? It was 3 gold companies. And all the gold companies, when I did the research, I said to myself, yes, this is definitely a company that I would put money towards if I was interested in investing into it at this time, right? So if I said that to myself, then I would be willing to do it. There's tons and tons and tons of people who send me requests to sponsor the channel, right? Here, they'll give me $1,500 for 30 seconds at the beginning of the video or whatever. And you know how tempting that is to want to do that for every single one of my videos? Like that's what I said when people ask, something like this. I think about it. It was just like I could, like, if I was to take the sponsors and just really push it and do that kind of thing for the content, I would be done. Like I would have made a bunch of money by now. I may have even been able to retire off of the amount of money that I would have been able to make off of it. I would have discredited the channel. The channel would not be what it is, right? If I was going for money, it would not be the same thing. So when it came to doing those particular sponsors, they paid a lot. They paid me a lot of money to do it. And it was for something that I did believe, that I would do myself. Like if, somebody was to go and put their money towards it, I would have done the exact same thing. So that was kind of it. Like, I mean, I see these other ones and like, I mean, some of them don't have anything to do with economics at all. Like, I mean, at least the gold companies that I was promoting, it has to do something with like what we're talking about here. I've had other people who are like, hey man, we'll send you products to review and you just keep the product. And I'm like, that's not what my channel does. Like, I don't review products, that's not how I want to like run the channel. So I'm not interested in that one. I've had other people like, I've had a financial advisor ask me to put a link to his website down in the description of my video, not even talk about it, just to put the link down in the description. But again, this isn't the path that I was looking to take. What I found is by doing what it is that I am doing, between the viewers and stuff like the super chats and the PayPal donations, the memberships, and just being here, just watching the videos, it takes care. It does what I need. Right? I mean, I don't need for anything. Right? I don't stress for bills or money or anything like that. I mean, I'm living a really, really good life. So I don't know why I would want to push that, like to change that. Everything I have going right now is what I would want, you know. Um, yeah, do you want more? Sure. I mean, who wouldn't want, $100 million and, driving Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff like that? I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? But, when you think about it in a realistic fashion, I mean, this is it. This is like, really, how could it get much better? You know? Hey, thank you very much, Yakuza Chris 10. Thank you for the $2, man. Interest rate hikes like the 70s, long and brutal. Yeah, what's your job? Thank you very much for the $2, brother. What's my job? I do lumber sales. Really what my job is I do special orders. And what I mean by that is, like, when somebody comes in, they need, a particular window, they're looking for some fancy trim molding, maybe there's some siding or something like that that we don't stock in the store, and they're looking to do like repairs on their house. I'm the guy who goes and tracks down all those little tiny specialty items, like the special order doors, the special order windows, the trim, the little stuff. I used to do like contractor sales where we would do like bulk items. You'd read blueprints and do these takeoffs and stuff. It's a completely different game. Like, I mean, way different. And although both of them, like, the contractor sales is like this glamorous position, and everybody, ooh, the contractor sales guys, whatever. And I mean, and they have a big job. Like, I mean, they do push a lot of material, through the store and stuff like that. And, they have like other businesses that are dependent on them, to get it done, like mainly the builders, or, depending on these guys. So they have like, it's a different kind of attitude that's going on there. The special order section of things, I do work with contractors all the time. I mean, it's like 70% of who I work with, but it's usually like kind of the smaller time contractors, or maybe it's just a particular part of the house that they're looking, like the door, like they're looking to get a really fancy entry door or something like that. And so that's really where I end up going into the sales part of things, is doing those special orders. Now, what I have found is that you don't do nearly as much, like in dollar, but I kill it in percentage, right? So the contractor service does a lot of volume, right? A lot of money, but it's low profit. There's a very low percentage of very low percentage of gross profit there. But when you're doing like the special orders like I do, then you end up with a much higher retail side of things, or a much higher markup on these things. And so although I'm not selling nearly as much, my percentage of profit is much better for the store than if I was to sell the same amount in the contractor service section of the thing. So they're just as important. They're both critical positions, and they're both just as important for for the store to function properly. Do you believe debt buying is inherently unethical? I mean, if you're asking my personal opinion, a lot of people say that the issuance of debt and just putting people into debt is unethical. But I look at things a little differently from that. If I have a really, really, really good idea, but I don't have any money, like, that's it. My idea, my dream is over. I don't get to do anything. Or can I go to somebody who's willing to lend me money? And now, if I do go to somebody who's willing to lend me money, should they not gain anything for that? Like, here it is, they worked hard to acquire their money. I have this great idea. They think the idea is pretty good too, but they shouldn't be rewarded for lending me this money. Like, I don't think that's right. They should be rewarded for lending me the money, right? And if I have a good idea, well, and I don't have the money, I should be able to go out and get the money, to do my idea. If everything works out great, everybody wins, right? Everybody gets to win. Like, I get to pay the guy back. He gets to make his money off of, off the interest, or, whatever. I get my business up off the ground. Everybody's happy with it. So where's the problem? Well, the problem is when you get into too much debt, or you get into, predatory debt or something like that. Somebody is like pushing loans out that you really couldn't afford, and they said you could, or something like that. Like, you just don't understand what it is you got into. I mean, all that kind of thing. I guess there's like unethical things that could take place within that. But the idea of having a good idea and then borrowing and then paying that back, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I don't find that being a bad thing. All right, Kenny, man, you're loading me up today, brother. Thank you. Can you get an interview with a gold and silver miner CEO and get some insight on premiums? Why are premiums so high when you buy silver? Um, Well, again, I think that's the difference. I think that's what you're looking at is like the spot prices, like the paper price, and the premiums that you're paying is the physical price. There's two different prices. You got paper price and physical price. You have to think like physical is going to be much different from a paper contract, right? I mean, physical item, they actually had to get this stuff, they transport it around, somebody's taking risk with it, storage fees, all that stuff has a premium that's carried with it. If it didn't exist, like the actual item, if it didn't actually exist, but just a piece of paper that said, hey, we'll follow the price of it, then there's no effort, no time, no security, none of that stuff is involved with it like the physical item is. So to me, that's the reason why there's such a premium difference. Now, as far as getting a CEO on, yeah, I'll work on that because that would be actually a pretty good interview to do. So, and we'll ask them that. How long can you keep silver low? Is the $1 million question. Forever. Okay, forever. That's what I'm going to say to that, because as far as taking on a strategy that at someday that they will lose control of the price suppression, I've given up on that idea. I will not take on that strategy at all, right? Because I already got burned once from that. That was back in 2011 with Max Kaiser and pushing crash JP Morgan, buy silver, and he was selling 1 ounce silver rounds with his smiling face on it. I was right there with him. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's crash JP Morgan, buy silver at $35 an ounce, $45 an ounce, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you pay for it. It only matters how much you have. Let's crash JP Morgan. And then it crashed all the way. Silver went from $50 down to $15. Yay. That was fun. You know how long I've been in silver for? I've seen all these games. Like all those guys who were out there on Reddit or whatever, with the gonna like do the GameStop thing, those silver short people. Forget that. No way, man. I'm not jumping in on that game. You go crash JP Morgan. I ain't doing that. So it doesn't matter. Like to me, it doesn't matter any of that stuff. It doesn't matter what the price is. It doesn't matter where it's going. Doesn't matter where it's been. Doesn't matter any of that stuff. The only thing that's going to really matter at the end of this is how many you have. That's it. It doesn't matter what the price is. And even on that, it's an insurance policy, right? It's not even there to be the safety net. Like it's not. It's just something to help you sleep at night. So you know that you're away from that third party. If the banking system fails, if they lock your money up, you have something that gives you the ability to sleep at night. That's what silver really should be about. I mean, that's what it is for me. Like I don't look at it as something that's going to make me millions of dollars or something. Like I don't even have like wouldn't even have that much anyway. But it's not something that I look at as going to make me rich. It's an insurance. That's it. That's all it is. All right. Most definitely they keep precious metals suppressed. Yeah. Let's see here. Gold and silver are definitely suppressed, but I factor that in when buying. Well, that's what I consider it too. It's just like, man, if it's being suppressed, there's no better opportunity to get something now. Like, I mean, what would you rather do? Get it when it's suppressed or get it when it's not suppressed? I mean, to me, like, if I could buy silver at $20 or $25 an ounce until I'm like 80 years old and then it shot up to like $400 an ounce, that would be perfect. Like that's what I would like to see. But I mean, what's the chance of that, right? The future market is like turning back the odometer on the gold and silver market. Isn't silver a major component in solar panels too? Seems like another source of demand to drive prices up. Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, from what I understand, like remember Chris, I don't know, does Chris Dewayne still do videos? Um, he went over this quite a bit, but from what I understand, like silver is the second most vital commodity next to oil. Like without silver, literally our way of life would end. If they took all the silver off the planet, like our way of life would end immediately. Um, so when you think about like how much demand there's going to be going into the future, when you think about like the electronics, the AI movements, solar panels, stuff like that, there's going to be huge demand for silver moving into the future. At least I don't see like a lack of demand. How about that? Like, demand falling for silver in the future, that doesn't make any sense. Like there's nothing out there that says that. So when you have like a demand for silver coming and you have silver at 50% of its all-time high and ridiculously out of proportion to the ratio to gold as the way they pull it out of the ground to compare to the price it sells for today. I mean, again, there is nothing out there that I can think of or even could possibly, like, there's nothing out there that even comes close to what silver is right now. I mean, silver has such little downside risk to it. Yeah, it's. Anyway, moving on. Paper gold, just a promise. Sad people fall for it as though it's a safe insurance. Yes, I agree with that. Now, with that being said, I do own a little bit of SLV, but it's not much. It's just more to have it and some skin in the game with it. But like, I think I have like $20 worth. It's not much. We should all be instruments of change. Yeah. Silver and platinum. See now, okay, now I think silver and gold, and more silver than gold, because silver is going to be easier to unload than gold. Like, you don't need to get rid of an entire ounce of gold. You just want enough to buy a loaf of bread, but, all you have is this big gold coin. How do you deal with that, right? That's where silver is so much easier, because then even like down to silver dimes. I have a bunch of silver dimes. You have like bartering material there. You don't have to like, break off a piece of the gold coin or get rid of the entire gold coin. You can just get rid of a little silver dime for whatever it is that you need. But when it comes to like other metals out there, you got platinum, you got palladium, you got like copper. Copper might do okay, but like platinum, like, I can think of one person in Astoria that might buy a platinum coin from me, right? The coin dealer. That's it. Like nobody else that I know of, like even silver people who are into silver, may not buy a platinum coin. Like it's the idea of how easy is it going to be to liquidate it. Now, there might be somebody who's like, dude, I got like 30 people I could sell a platinum coin to right now, right? If you do, that's cool, man. That's perfect. Then be in platinum. I don't. Like I know people I can sell silver to all day, but I don't necessarily know people I can sell platinum to all day. So that's the difference. Like if you are looking for it to be something that you need in a pinch, like the insurance, the safety net, the something like that, having platinum, I don't think is going to be the best metal out there. I think silver would be far better than that. But on a long term, if you're going to go and sell it to like a dealer or something like that, yeah, I can see where platinum might, be a good metal to have. I'm often reminded of the 80s. What else happened then? Oh yeah, metals crashed. Well, okay. But did they? Well, okay. So you say that metals crashed, but really, what happened was metals ran up incredibly high, right? So they returned. I mean, it was not necessarily like the crash, right? I mean, yeah, it was because of the price that it came from, but it wasn't like I mean, to me, like if you had taken out like the run up from the late 70s into the early 80s, right? Where would have silver gone to? Where would gold be at, right? That's really where I kind of asked the question of it. There was a lot of manipulation taking place in the early 80s. I mean, the Hunt brothers were trying to corner the market at that time. So there was a lot of like effort, as far as borrowing money and buying up the futures and doing all kinds of stuff that was really driving a lot of the metal prices. And then we also have to think this was like coming out of the 70s. And in the late 70s, there was a lot of inflation that was kicking in. Like people were really, people actually did think that the dollar was going to fail. Like, there was major concern over that. So much so that the United States was having a hard time selling their debt, like the U.S. Treasuries. They were issuing out U.S. Treasuries that were due in Swiss francs and German marks. Like, they weren't even going to be due in dollars. They were due in another foreign currency. They were called Carter bonds. This is how much loss of faith in the dollar was taking place at the time. So there was nowhere to go. Like, where are you going to go? You know, like, people were running to putting their money in Swiss bank accounts. They were trying to get out of the dollar as best they can. There's no place to go except for gold and silver. Right? So now this fear that was taking place at the time, that's what really was driving people into the precious metals. They thought for sure that the dollar was going to, it was going to tank. Well, then when they shot the interest rates up to, when Volcker came out and pushed the interest rates up to the 15% or whatever it was that he did it, and drove the U.S. Treasuries way high, everybody was like looking at the Treasuries and over at the United States saying, man, that's a hell of a return. And they started throwing money back at the United States, and there was no need to be in gold anymore after that, since he had a good, safe asset of the U.S. Treasuries paying such a high amount. So I do have to think about that. It was just like, if that fear of when the dollar left the gold standard, back in the early 70s, if that fear hadn't taken place and pushed people into gold, where would have it landed after the crash, right? After it had come down. And I would just assume that it would probably be somewhere about where it was. The interesting thing about like gold and silver is that when the price start to move, people get very excited about it, and they all start running into gold and silver. But really, if you think about it on the longer term of it, it's really just a very steady rise, right? It's just a very consistent, steady rise. That's what really you're looking for. That's what you want. That's where you dollar cost average into things so that you can preserve your wealth. These crazy, like, volatile times and stuff, I mean, that's not times that I even want to even be in the market. Like, when that starts to happen, I don't even want to participate during that stuff. I want a dollar cost average in on a consistent basis and be successful doing that. Wow, did I get a huge super chat there? What happened? Yeah, I did. Holy moly, SDB, thank you so much for the $50, man. Love the optimism. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it, man. Well, that's part, one of the things that I noticed about this channel is that a lot of people really enjoy, like, the positive talks that I come up with, some of the philosophical talks, it's just like trying to conduct yourself through life kind of thing. And this channel always had a demographics of like somewhere between the 45 to 55-year-olds. Like, that was the majority of the channel, and like 29% of it. And I just noticed that that's changed. The demographics of the channel is now starting to drop down to the 25 to 35-year-old. And I thought that was quite interesting, like, to the point that now it's like overtaken the 45 to 55-year-old. And so it kind of got me wondering, because I understood it back when it was like the 45, 55-year-old, because that's probably where people are most concerned about their money. You're trying to accumulate as much as you can before retirement, and trying to figure out what it is that you do to preserve your money, because it is, you don't have a whole lot of time to make up for lost ground if you lose a bunch of it. So I thought, man, that makes a lot of sense, 45 to 55. But now that the demographics has dropped a little bit, it does make me wonder. It was just like, what are these guys looking for? I mean, the channel is 90% male, and now is majority 25 to 35-year-olds who are watching this channel. So it does make me wonder. It was like, what are you guys looking for? What is it that this channel can provide for you as far as help goes, or the information that you're seeking out there. I think a lot of times, when you're 25, you're not really concerned about much out there, like anything. I know when I was 25, I was like, I can care less about anything out there, really. But, after 25, you start moving towards 30, well, you do start getting a little bit more concerned, right? You're starting to, get a little bit more status about you. You're starting to, get a little bit more pay from the jobs or the skills that you have, and you're starting to take things a little bit more seriously. And I think that's probably why the demographics of this channel has changed, is because, when you, and I don't know like necessarily why it changed, but why those demographics are coming to the channel, I guess I should say, those are difficult. Like, there's no playbook. They never gave you anything saying, hey man, this is the way you need to conduct yourself in order to have the most successful life you can, right? Like, there's all these ideas, there's churches, there's, teachers and, parents and stuff like that. But ultimately you have to like basically do all this stuff on your own and take some whippings. You got to get beat up, and once you get beat up, you learn your lessons from it, and you fight a little harder and you fight a little better. You don't get beat up as much, and that's really what it takes, because once you kind of learn those lessons, people can tell you stuff all day long. They can tell you, hey, behave, look at, don't do these things, do this, all that. But until you actually do it for yourself, it's just words. That's all you hear. So, that's what I think, like a lot of times, when you start, you get to a channel, you got, you're 46 years old, you're on a YouTube channel, you got 122,000 subscribers, and there's people out there who want to mimic that. They want to emulate that. They want to be like, hey man, that was what you did, is the way I want to do things. And I'm thinking, man, the way I did things was really screwed up, because I was not doing well at 40 years old. Right? At 40, I was just like, I wish I could take a snapshot of it so I could look at it again, because it was pretty messed up. I was drinking a lot, I was super in debt, and didn't have any kind of income, and I was living in family house, and they were pissed off at me, and it was just like, everything about it was wrong, And then you start getting your stuff together, and you start like focusing in on things, and there's certain behaviors you just choose not to do anymore, right? One of them was drinking. I was just like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm done with it. And it was hard. Like, even today, it's been like almost 8 years since I've drank. Even today, before, 4 o'clock, I get off of work at 4:30, 4 o'clock, I think of a beer, right? Isn't that weird? 8 years later, and I still think, man, I think of like the mini mart and the beer, about going and getting one. Not like I was really doing it. It's just something, a thought that comes up. And it's just amazing. It's something like this never goes away. But you make those commitments. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to quit drinking, and that's going to, make my life better. It doesn't. What it does is it opens up your mind to the idea that you had screwed up your life the entire time, that you were covering it up with alcohol. So then you got a bunch of other things you got to start fixing and working on. This is the type of stuff that I ended up going through, and, people were like, man, yeah, I want to do what you did. It was, no, you don't really, but if you didn't take those lessons, then maybe you wouldn't do the things that you do. Like, I wouldn't have started the YouTube channel. I wouldn't have done some of the, like, losing the house was the whole reason why I even got into studying economics anyway. It was just like, what the hell is a mortgage-backed security and a credit default swap? That was literally the two questions that I went to, like, my computer and asked when I started doing research into the economy. That literally, what's a mortgage-backed security and what's a credit default swap? And after that, I just never stopped asking questions. And okay, let's see here. I don't miss drinking. I still like my safety meetings, though. Yeah, I agree with you, all-nighter. UE, would it be? No idea how people are paying $400,000 for land that doesn't even have a house on it. Thank you, and TY? Alright. I like casually drinking with family once in a while. Don't like to black out, binge drink like in my college years. Yeah, and and I don't have any problems with anybody who wants to drink, if you want to hang out and enjoy a drink, hell, friends I was hanging out with last night were drinking. I don't have any problem with it. My problem with it is that I just didn't stop. Like, I would drown out everything that I was feeling depressed and whatever, but like, it was just all about drinking the beer and just knocking them back, you get into a way of life that just becomes like normal, like you do it every day, and then you just don't see a life without it. You don't even understand how it even exists. Like I can't I can't go fishing without beer. I'm gonna be bored, right? I mean, this is like literally like some of the thoughts that come across your head and stuff. Um, it it grabs a hold of you, right? And when you do it every day, like, and you do it a lot, what ends up happening is you find yourself in an alcohol-based consciousness, right? Kind of like I'm in a caffeine-based consciousness, right? But you find yourself in an alcohol-based consciousness, and all the decisions that you are making is from that consciousness, and you don't make good decisions from that. Like you do stuff that is bad to other people. You do stuff that's bad to yourself. It's just like a horrible place to really be. So drinking consistently like that, I mean, I don't know how anybody could find that that's any kind of pleasure or good thing that's happening there. You know, Having a drink and relaxing and loosening up and hanging out with family and friends and doing all that other stuff, I miss that. Like I enjoyed all that part of it. I would never give up any of those good times that I have had. Like I wouldn't, like if I could say I would give, like if I could go back and never drink again, I don't know if I would want to give up all the good times that I had, because I really enjoyed a lot of that stuff. But it was it's when it gets to the point that it's just like it consumes your entire life. That's it, man. It's like there's nothing. That's no way to be. All right, 2 glasses a day, 45 minutes of exercise and laughter is said to be key to long life, not including other medical issues, assuming you're in good health. Yeah. That stuff makes me nauseous and want to puke now. Yeah. Pleasure versus happiness. Yeah. Made it live. We're right on, Jaws. Man, it's good to see you here. Holy moly, SDB, man, you got me another $50. Did you go to AA or... Sorry, but I'm currently struggling. I know it off topic. Again, sorry. Okay, SDB, man, we can talk about this, bro, especially since you decided to load me up with the super chats. No, I didn't go to AA. My wife did. My wife was very involved in AA. So she read the big book. She knows it very well. I don't I like going to the rooms and sitting and listening. Um, and for somebody who likes to talk, I really don't like talking at the during the meetings. And one of the reasons is because I didn't go through the program. Like I didn't follow the steps that most people go through in order to quit drinking. Um, those steps, they're very critical to the success of being sober and being clean. Um, so I really encourage people to do that. If it wasn't for the residual that I got from my wife, I don't know if I would have quit, right? But because she was going through AA and she was able to talk about some of the things that she was experiencing with those meetings and being involved with it, I think I was able to pick up a lot of it. Now, I don't do well with like therapists. I don't do well like discussing my feelings and stuff like that with people. Um, actually out here on YouTube has actually made it a lot easier for me. But being in those rooms and listening to other people talk about the issues that they have had, it is so helpful. Like you wouldn't believe how much you can relate and understand and be part of a community of other people who are trying to be on the same path that you are going on. It's I encourage it. Like I encourage AA as much as I can for people, because I've seen the success of it. I've seen how well it works, and I understand the programming, not having gone through it myself, but knowing it. It works, and it works really well. Um, the hardest part about it is making that commitment that day that you're going to do it, and a lot of people, like, what'll end up happening is they kind of go at it for a minute, like, they're like, man, I'm really excited about my sobriety, and they're like, 2, 3 weeks into it, and they're like, man, I can do this, man, I'm good, right? And they're all like just super jazzed on their sobriety, and they're just like pumped up. And then something will happen, like, they're hanging out with a friend or something, and they slip, right? And they end up drinking. And then they think like everything was lost, like they're back to worthless again or something. I don't know. And then they go back to drinking, right? And it's just like, no, man, it was just a day. Like it was a day. Like you can't excuse it, right? Because if you make an excuse for it, then you'll do it again. So it's not, it's not really an excusable thing, but it was just a day, and you can start again today, right? And so just because you drank yesterday doesn't mean you have to do it again today. And that's really important to understand, because so many people will fall and then they don't get back up again. And it's just like, damn it, you're there. It was just a day, man, So it's tough, man. This alcohol thing, it hit me hard. It was gonna take me out. It was gonna take family out. My friend Jenny just passed away not too long ago from overconsumption. Like, she just wouldn't stop, And so, yeah, it's a tough one to go through, man. I encourage you to do it, man. Go find the rooms. Go, get some numbers and talk with people. And it's just, you got to start. You got to start someday, and right now, today, tomorrow, right? Tomorrow morning, because if you already had one today, then it's tomorrow morning. All right, Hyder, get off me, bot. No, all nighter's cool. No, SDB, yeah, all nighter, he's cool, man. Yeah, my drinking was a mission, something to complete. Now I can drink one Newcastle and be good. Right on. Oh, I guess you guys are hanging out. I'm sorry, I didn't. Let me go. Shouldn't be getting involved in your conversation there. Let me see. Thanks for the stream, Yui. Yeah, you guys bet, man. No problem. I like being out here. I mean, if this could be my job, maybe I could do this 8 hours out of the day and just do live streams every day. You guys would get bored of me. All right. Wow, Jaws, man, thank you so much for the 1999, man. Just got here, mid-conversation. I'm 15 months sober, feel so much better. Listen to Simon, SDB. He was an unexpected sobriety coach for me. Thanks, Travis. I owe him a lot. Still have my family, in part because of him, and that is priceless. Dude, that's pretty touching, man. Thank you. Sobriety is a non-stop battle. Some days are easier than others. That's for sure. You will do better to get on a plan and do something if you can get your friends to join you. Yeah. Doing awesome, Jaws. Yeah, Jaws is doing awesome. I remember that, like Jaws telling me that, and that's really cool, man. I remember we made it that year, and I remember how excited my wife and I were to talk about that. We were excited for your birthday on that one. 2 weeks is better than 0 days. Take it, yeah, minute by minute. That's for sure, man. Are you on the West Coast? I am on the West Coast. I don't know if you guys can see it. You can't see the bridge. The Megler Bridge is over there, so I'm in Astoria. Back to the economy. No more live talk. Okay, yeah, no problem. Much appreciated, Yui, in chat. Yeah, don't quit. It gives you grit. It's okay. One day at a time sounds cheesy, but it's really accurate. No, and that's actually accurate for no matter what it is. Whether you're trying to quit, smoking cigarettes or drinking or whatever it is that you got going on in your life, and you want to change, it's an everyday thing, and that's really what why I was so successful at the channel, or getting the channel to the level that it is the commitment to it every day, right? I told myself I want to put out a video every single day. Like, I'm going to do my best to try and get out a video every day, and that's what I'm going to do. And when I did that, it was hard at first, like every day trying to put this video out and trying to come up with a topic. Like I would be asking people at work, what do I talk about? What do I talk about today or whatever? But I would just push, just figure it out, get another video. If you missed the day, whatever, just do the video the next day. And so as I started doing that, and the more I was doing it, the more I realized that the videos were coming easier. Like I didn't have to work as hard. Like there would be times I would be, I would read for 12 hours trying to figure out what video I was going to do. And then nowadays, like I can sometimes I'll think of a video and, in the morning and then kind of think about it for a few hours and then just do it at lunch. The videos are becoming a lot easier to do. And then also like, because I wanted to be an economist and I'm doing these videos and doing this research, I started finding myself like getting more informed and more understanding, and people are asking me more questions and they're saying, hey man, you really got a grip on this thing, man, and they just kept coming to me, and I was just like, holy shit, am I actually becoming an economist here? Is this actually happening? And if you do it every single day and you are consistent with it, and you do stuff that's informative and helpful and stuff like that, it's amazing what changes come from that, right? It's just like my entire life changed. Wasn't even anticipating any of that. And your whole life will just start, all of a sudden, things just start, presenting themselves in a much better fashion. Opportunities come, all the engagements that you do with people are all positive ones, it just works out so much better. Holy moly, you guys are just loading me up with these super chats. Man, $50 again from SDB, man, bro. Thank you so much. You guys are so supportive of this channel, man. Thank you. Good job, UE. Keep posting videos every day. I love them. I'm sure so many people do and will. Yeah, thank you, man. There goes the rent. I just joking. Well, I'm sure you are, man, but appreciate it, man. That it means a lot to me that you are so supportive of the channel and willing to hook me up with that. Yeah, you guys are awesome. What time is it here? Okay, I would love to hang out here. I'm gonna give it about another 10 minutes, okay, guys? And then I gotta go. I was gonna go about 20 minutes ago, but I just love the way the conversation was going, and so I thought I would stick it out just a little bit farther. All right. Have you done the Astoria Underground Tour? The fires of Astoria is interesting history. I haven't, but I really do want to do that because I hear that it is a lot of fun. So, yeah, maybe I'll set that up. Maybe I'll try and do a fun one for the kids or something to go check that out. Okay, imagine K through 12 teachers. They gotta put out a video every day and dodge bullets. Ooh, yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, I wouldn't want to dodge bullets ever. But it's just about anything you do. If you do it every single day, right, it'll become part of you, no matter what it is. Like if you do it every day, even if it's something that's like, really unfamiliar, like showing up at a job, like a new job, like especially for young guys who are like, showing up on a job site and they've never been on a construction site or something, like they are so confused and so out of place and so like uncomfortable with it and stuff. But, after a couple of days, they're very comfortable, it's just like packing plywood and nailing boards together and, cleaning stuff up and everything. And pretty soon the job site feels like home, You give it a few months and man, they're starting to talk like they know the place, and they're carpenters or something. It's just the way it goes. You do something consistently every single day and you stick with it, it'll eventually become part of you. It'll force the change upon you. All right. Takes 28 days to make or break a habit. Yeah. All right. Thanks for hanging out, SDB. Yeah, thank you, All Nighter, for saying that. And thank you, SDB, for being here. Foreclosures in the rise. Yeah, I would imagine that we're probably going to start seeing a lot of those coming up, but really, like, how many foreclosures are we going to see that are going to actually start to impact the housing market in a dramatic fashion? I think that's probably going to come after we see unemployment rise. That's my personal opinion on it, if we even see it, if the, powers that be don't come up with plans to keep everybody in their homes again. UE, best type of wood for me to use when building my chicken run off the coop. Upper Midwest, lots of rain and snow. Well, Jaws, to be honest, anytime I'm like, because I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so everything will rot, right? If you leave any kind of wood unexposed, like if you don't paint it or treat it, like if it's not a treated board, pressure treated board, it's gonna rot, it's gonna fail, right? So like in my area, if it's outside, I use pressure treated lumber, even for the chicken runs. Like a lot of people look at pressure treated lumber, and it depends on what kind of treated company you're getting. The treatment company that we use at my store, they actually promote, like, hey, you can use this in the garden, this is safe for you to use. They sell little seeds, or they give away little seed packets to kind of promote with their lumber. Now, whether or not you actually trust that, I mean, that's up to you. But for a chicken, like, I wouldn't have any concerns about using pressure treated lumber around the chickens. So for me, I would probably go with pressure treated, just because it's going to last longer in our area around here. But if you don't, just go with regular 2x4s. Probably not pine. I would go with fir if you can find them, and paint them. Get a coating on them of some sort. You can get quite a few years out of it that way. Like I said, here in the Pacific Northwest, if you leave a 2x4 out in the weather, it'll rot in a few years. It won't last long. All right. I'm 35, bro. Kenny? Well, good, man. It's a perfect age to be. Like, 35 to me was absolutely the best. I was awesome physical shape. I mean, I was able to get a little bit of status. I had some skill sets where I was making money. Like 35 years old was like the best time ever, right? All right. Thanks, you. Yeah, no problem, Jaws. Anytime, man. PT Lumber last. SC here, South Carolina here. Left stuff on my deck with water soaking into it, still strong. Yeah. Marcus, thank you very much for the $7.99. You're doing great, Yui. Keep crushing. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I don't know how many times I've said it, but I really do. The support that you guys share with me or give to me to the channel, it's awesome. Like I don't know what I would do without you. Like I can't imagine life now without YouTube and the channel and doing live streams and putting out the videos and reading the comments and trying to answer emails. Gosh, I'm so sorry for anybody who has sent me an email that I haven't replied back to. I get a lot of emails and I try to reply back to everybody. But if you haven't got an email from me, just give me a little time. I'm going back through some of the past ones that I had missed and try to answer some of those ones as well. But yeah, it's been one hell of a ride. What are we talking about here? All right, I'm looking to go, let's see, I'm looking to go stay on the coast of Oregon for a week. Got any resorts to recommend? I don't know about any like actual resorts, because I really don't stay at any places here on the coast, as far as that goes. If you're gonna visit anywhere, like anywhere from like Tillamook to the Astoria, even up on the peninsula, Washington Peninsula. That's a nice stretch all through anywhere on the coast there. Usually everywhere up and down the Oregon coast is awesome, but from Tillamook to Astoria, there's all kinds of wonderful spots there, that you can hang out at. As far as like a major resort though, I don't think we have a whole lot. Seaside, they got the Woodmere Resort out there and stuff. The only one just south of LC Golf Resort starts with an S. I'm 34, can barely make dinner without sitting down for a breather. No cash, no woman, no skills. Do I just start blasting? 34, can barely make dinner without sitting down for a breather? Like you're overweight, bro? Alright. No cash, no woman, no skills. Bro, that's a tough position to be in, man. Where do you live? Like, how do you live? You live with your parents or something? Or are they still taking care of you? Here's the thing, man. Go start doing push-ups. Go do push-ups and sit-ups. Even if you can only get one done, man. Go and do one, and then tomorrow try and get two done, right? Or just get one done at a time, and try and knock out 10 in a day or 20 in a day. Start doing that. Do push-ups and do sit-ups and start eating right. Okay? Like, that's the only recommendation I'm going to do for you right now. If that's really what the case is, you're 34, start doing sit-ups and push-ups, man. Start losing some weight and start getting into shape. And when you start getting into shape and you start feeling better, come back and talk to me and we'll talk about something else, all right? But yeah, the rest of the stuff I can't even give you any kind of suggestions until you take care of your health, right? Until you're ready to move and be moving. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I hope you're well, man. That's tough, man. Listen, this community will help you, man. We'll give you advice. Everybody here is like looking to advance in our lives. We're all trying to do better, and we're all like giving each other suggestions and helpful hints and ideas and stuff like that. So stick it out with us, man. Oh, man. You can do it. You can get the cash. You can get the woman. You can get the career. You can have all that stuff in your life, bro. All right, up to 300 push-ups a day from 130 days ago. Nice. Great job, and in fact, I have a bum shoulder. I tore my rotator cuff up a while back, so I haven't been doing push-ups as much lately, but I remember I am not somebody who does a lot of like exercising, kind of working out. I work at a lumber yard. I pack lumber around all the time. I'm pretty good physical health. I could probably increase my endurance or something, but as far as strength goes, like I feel fairly strong. But I was doing push-ups and I realized I was like, man, I need to start doing more push-ups because like the first, try at it, I could only get like 20 done. This was like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. I could only get like 20 done. I'm like, man, that is terrible. But it didn't take very long and I could work my way up to 50, like where I could just do 50 in one shot. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool to be able to knock out 50 push-ups. And so when you start doing that and you do it every day, pretty soon you start like wanting to do it. Like, you're like, man, I want to do some push-ups, because I like the feeling that I get from it. And then you like the feeling that that you feel like your arms feel stronger and they look better in the mirror, and you start feeling better about yourself. So yeah, doing push-ups is awesome. It's like, it's great for like just motivating to get yourself in the day. Like you have a hard time, like, man, I just don't feel like going to work today or whatever. Knock out a bunch of push-ups. You stand up and you're like, man, okay, well now I feel like going to work. I may not want to feel like going to work, but I don't feel like bad. Like I don't want to go to work. All right. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to jet out of here. It's 6:30, and I need to go home and hang out with the family. You got a torn rotator cuff too? Yeah, it's bad. Like, it's not so bad until you get to about here, and then like after that, you just can't get your arm up any further. It's like that's as far as it goes, All right. Steve has entered the chat. All right. If you haven't had a diagnosis for what exactly is causing your symptoms, you need to get checked out as soon as possible. It could be anything from heart failure to pneumonia. Yeah, I've thought about that, like as far as the heart condition, because like a lot of times I feel like I get winded really easy and like I'm like, man, why am I breathing so hard? I didn't even go that, like I didn't work that hard. So yeah, I should probably have myself checked out. Yeah, I'm 46, so I haven't been to a doctor in a while. Yeah, I should do that. Alrighty, guys. I could sit out here and hang out with you all night. I really could. I appreciate all these comments. You guys have just been really awesome tonight. kind of getting deep into some of that alcohol talk and stuff, which is which is good. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of us are facing, and that we need to kind of go through as far as talking and getting that out. Learning a lot about the economy here. We didn't talk too much about the economy in depth, about the supply chain. We did a bit at the beginning of the video, but we kind of got off track there a little bit. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the Uneducated Economist and everything that I'm doing. I look forward to putting out these videos every day, and I love these super chats. These are like, I really enjoy doing these things with you guys. So thank you. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know. Did you went cold turkey? Yes, I quit cold turkey. I don't remember the last day that I drank, but I do remember that I was done with it, and I don't remember what that day was. I don't remember drinking that day, the last day. I kind of know about the time that it happened, but I didn't realize at the time that it was my last drink. Like, I didn't know that. I had already like wanted to be done, for a while, but I didn't realize that was the last one, So, all right, thank you so much. I can't help it. I got to read the last few comments. Have a good night. Keep making videos. I will do so, SDB. You bet, man. All right. Are small family-owned sawmills still common in Oregon? Yep, there's still quite a few of them. But as far as like the framing lumber kind of stuff, that comes from the big mills. The smaller mills are like boutique mills, specialty stuff that they're milling out. Do not sell out like the others, please. Keep channels simple. I watch your videos. Drop some info on lumber building. Do not sell out, bro. Please do not sell out, please. All right, Kenny, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to do the sponsorships, but I am very cautious when I do them. If I can, like I said, if I can get this channel to a level in which that I wouldn't have to think about sponsorships or ad revenue or anything else like that, it's just like the members and me and the channel, and that's it, and that's the only thing we're worried about, man, that's the place that I would really like to be. It's a ways to go to get there. Don't think of me as a sellout. I mean, think of me as what you will, but try to understand that I do struggle with these sponsors, and on whether or not to do them. The money is for my family. That's really what it comes down to. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't do it. So, all right, Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.